You know that feeling, right? That sense that underneath all the daily rushing around, the deadlines, the lists, there are these bigger questions just sort of lurking.
Definitely. Questions about, well, what it all really means.
Yeah.
Maybe even about those big final destinations, hell and heaven.
Yeah, exactly. And today we're diving straight into that whole area, but with a bit of a twist.
Right. We're putting aside the usual images for a bit. We're going to explore the ideas in Ketan Gupta's The Modern Hell, loops, choices, and the unseen truth.
So our goal here isn't to confirm any specific religious view.
Not at all. It's really about unpacking what this specific book suggests these concepts could mean today. More contemporary take.
Think of it as your quick guide to some pretty deep ideas. We're boiling down Gupta's unique angle for you.
Especially if you're someone who likes to get the gist of complex stuff quickly, see different perspectives.
And maybe have a few of those, oh, right, moments without getting totally bogged down in jargon.
And what's really interesting about Gupta's work is how it connects these huge questions to this character, Kai.
Yeah.
We see these abstract ideas through Kai's, everyday life and thoughts.
There's even that image mentioned of Kai as this thoughtful, kind of questioning, fox-like figure.
Yeah, it really captures that feeling of trying to figure things out in our, complex modern world.
Okay, so let's get into this main idea from Gupta, the modern hell. Now, usually you hear hell and you think, I don't know, fire, pitchforks.
Right, the traditional stuff.
Yeah.
But this book argues that for us now, hell looks very different.
It's more about the mental grind.
Exactly. The relentless mental strain from all the pressures, social media, money worries, emotional burnout, that kind of thing.
So the key idea isn't some external place, but this internal pressure cooker that modern life creates.
And Gupta makes it really relatable through Kai's experiences. The constant phone notifications buzzing.
Ah, yeah. That drives me nuts.
Right. Or the stress of a horrible commute, or even just the mental energy you spend making tiny decisions all day.
Those become the building blocks of this modern hell.
That's the idea. It really taps into that feeling, maybe you've had it, of just being completely overloaded mentally.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this whole setup, this pressure, deliberate? Some cosmic thing? Or just the messy result of how complicated society is now?
That's the question Gupta poses. And the book says the punishment in this modern version isn't something you wait for.
It's happening right now.
Yeah, it's the anxiety, that feeling of always second-guessing. Think about Kai replaying some work conversation over and over.
Or, in your own day, that email you wish you'd worded differently, or agonizing over spending $50.
That immediate stress, that discomfort, that's the torment, according to Gupta.
It's strong language, though, calling it hell.
It is. And Gupta acknowledges that. The argument is that using such a strong word forces us to really see how serious this constant mental burden actually is.
It's not just a bit stressed.
No, it's something that can really wear you down from the inside, slowly but surely.
Okay, so building from this idea of internal hell, Gupta then brings in this other concept, hidden complexity.
Right, and the crucial thing here is how even our smallest actions, the tiny things we do, are apparently loaded with consequences we just can't predict.
Which makes real control feel, well, maybe like an illusion.
Kind of. And a great example of the book is Kai just going to the grocery store. Seems simple, right?
Yeah, you just buy food.
But suddenly Kai's thinking about, okay, where did these coffee beans come from? What about the plastic packaging? Should I support the local shop, even if it costs more? All these tiny moral crossroads.
And Gupta suggests these little choices can trigger what the book calls inescapable domino effects.
It's not just the big life stuff. It could be a casual remark you made months ago that somehow affects someone's job chances without you ever knowing.
Or like a quick text you sent when you were annoyed that subtly damages a friendship over time.
And this really underlines that illusion of control the book discusses. We think we're steering the ship.
But really, we're caught in this massive, invisible web of cause and effect.
Pretty much. And knowing that, or suspecting it, can almost freeze you up. Makes even small decisions feel heavy.
There's that story in the book, too, about Kai deciding not to get coffee one morning.
Oh, yeah. And because Kai wasn't there, their friend ended up meeting someone who became a future business partner. Totally unexpected.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How unseen ripples from tiny actions can change big things. That's definitely one of those aha moments.
And flowing from this web of choices and hidden outcomes, Gupta moves into this really interesting time loop hypothesis.
Okay, now this sounds a bit sci-fi.
Well, it's presented a bit differently. It's not necessarily, Back to the Future. It's more like suggesting life itself could be cyclical.
Like reincarnation.
Sort of, but Gupta frames it as potentially non-spiritual, like a reset after death, maybe wiping your memory clean and you just start again.
And potentially get trapped repeating this modern hell.
That's the unsettling implication. Being stuck in the same loop of stresses and mental fatigue, lifetime after lifetime, without even knowing it, without a chance to learn or change properly.
Wow. That's, yeah, pretty bleak. It makes you question the whole point of experience if you just forget it all.
And that raises the key question. If time does reset completely, wipes the slate clean each time, how could anyone ever break out of the cycle? Is escape even possible?
Right, but then just as you might think, okay, maybe loops give us infinite chances to get it right.
Gupta throws a wrench in that too. What if the loops just repeat without actually leading to anything better? What if we're just stuck reliving the same problems?
Like Groundhog Day, but maybe without the learning part.
Kind of. Gupta uses Kai's recurring dream as an example. The argument in the dream never gets resolved, no matter what happens. Repetition doesn't automatically mean progress.
And that brings up this idea of the mental burden of loops. Even if we don't consciously remember previous loops.
Could there be some kind of subconscious weight, a deep weariness from failing over and over again across lifetimes?
Yeah, like a soul-level exhaustion.
Exactly. The book mentions an anecdote about someone named Jamie, whose relationship with a parent just never gets better, no matter how many times Jamie tries.
It suggests some things might just be unfixable, regardless of how many chances you get.
That's the angle. It introduces this concept of loop fatigue, this potential exhaustion from trying endlessly to fix something that maybe can't be fixed.
So it challenges that hopeful idea that loops automatically lead to a perfect outcome.
Gupta suggests maybe loops just highlight the things that were never going to be perfect, the inherent difficulties that just persist.
Which then leads naturally to questioning that old saying, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, in the context of this modern hell and these possibly pointless loops, that phrase starts to feel a bit hollow, doesn't it?
Definitely. Gupta argues that sometimes bad stuff just happens, period. No grand lesson, no hidden purpose.
Right. The book uses an example like a random, awful tragedy, say a building fire. Trying to force a reason onto that kind of suffering feels wrong, almost dismissive.
And it ties back to that hidden complexity idea. Sometimes choices, even ones made with good intentions, just lead to bad outcomes. Like Kai's coworker whose startup just failed miserably.
And Gupta talks about our very human need to find meaning. We want things to make sense, especially the hard things.
Sure, that's natural.
But the book warns against plastering a positive spin on everything. It argues that can actually distort reality and get in the way of, real healing.
So some things might just be bad, like a serious illness or losing your job or a permanent injury, no silver lining required.
That's what Gupta suggests. And linking it back to the loops, maybe some terrible things just happen in every possible timeline.
Oof.
So the key takeaway becomes the importance of just acknowledging the pure bad, sometimes. Letting ourselves feel the grief or disappointment authentically, not forcing a story onto it. Like Kai's sadness over that lost friendship, it just lingers.
Okay. From unavoidable bad stuff, Gupta then takes us somewhere even stranger. Potentially the idea that our whole world might be a programmed simulation.
Yeah, this idea apparently gets sparked for Kai after watching some documentary late at night and then seeing these weirdly specific billboards.
Like targeted ads, but in the real world.
Kind of. And the thought follows, if reality is basically code, then maybe this whole modern hell, the daily grind, the emotional stress, maybe even the time loops isn't accidental. Maybe it's programmed in.
Whoa. Okay. That raises some massive and frankly kind of disturbing questions. Like, is there a punishment system built into the code?
Right. Why does the world often feel so unfair or rigged? Gupta throws out possibilities for who the programmers might be. Is it a cosmic experiment, some bored superintelligence, or is this whole reality designed as a kind of penalty box?
And could suffering be like a feature, not a bug, intentionally designed, this endless psychological treadmill?
It's an unsettling thought. But Gupta also offers a counter idea. Maybe even within a simulation, there's still room for free will, for unexpected good things, for redemption.
Like an open world video game. You have the main quest, but you can also just explore and do other things.
Exactly like that. And the time loops. Maybe they're just, repeating difficult levels in the game.
Gupta does offer a bit of hope there, though, right? With Kai bumping into that old friend and actually reconciling.
Yeah, that's presented as maybe a positive mission or an unexpected reward popping up within the simulation.
But ultimately, it leaves you with these huge questions. If it's all programmed, does anything I do actually matter? Do my choices mean anything?
And Gupta's suggestion seems to be, well, maybe you should live as if they matter, regardless of what the ultimate reality is. Choose to act meaningfully anyway.
Okay, so shifting from just the individual experience, Gupta also looks at how we collectively contribute to this modern hell.
Right. The book uses an example of a small argument in a cafe and how that little bit of negativity can ripple outwards, affecting the mood of the whole place.
It's about how societies can amplify our individual stress, isn't it? Like, think about online mobs or really toxic office politics.
Definitely. But also, societies can offer support. Community gardens, local help groups, that kind of thing. There's a duality there.
Gupta uses this metaphor of a city as almost a single organism.
Yeah, where the stress of the individuals, the cells, can lead to larger societal problems like widespread anxiety or division. It's quite a striking image.
And it connects to emergent behavior, like how complex systems, even AI, can develop patterns and structures without a central plan.
Like human societies spontaneously creating governments, markets, social rules. But these group dynamics can also magnify problems, fear going viral, everyone jumping on a moral bandwagon, collective blind spots.
But on the flip side, Gupta does point to examples where people working together create little pockets of heaven within the hell.
Sure, like communities rallying after a flood, or people collaborating on public art projects, creating connection and shared purpose.
The book mentions Kai thinking about starting a local mindfulness meetup.
Right, as a small, proactive step to build community well-being, a little act of defiance against the general stress.
And even if you bring back the simulation or loop ideas and question if collective action can really change the big picture.
Gupta suggests that the act of building community itself feels empowering. It feels like pushing back against the modern hell. And maybe that feeling matters.
So finally, the book sort of brings it all together, exploring this idea of looking beyond the struggle towards something like deep acceptance, maybe merging with what Gupta calls the ultimate unknown.
Yeah, it's about finding some kind of peace amidst all the chaos and confusion we've been talking about.
It recaps all the elements, the modern hell, the loops, the complexity, the simulation idea.
And then introduces this more philosophical goal, reaching some kind of ultimate truth. Maybe that's enlightenment. Maybe it's feeling connected to everything. Maybe it's just fully accepting that life is, well, random and unpredictable.
And the key seems to be that the real change isn't just understanding these ideas intellectually.
Right. It's about letting that understanding actually shift how you experience things, fundamentally.
So the book asks, maybe the final test, the real challenge, is just being able to face all the confusion and uncertainty with compassion and curiosity.
Gupta uses Kai's moments of sudden clarity maybe after a loss, or just watching a sunrise as hints of this different perspective.
And it's careful to say this acceptance isn't just giving up, it's not resignation.
No, it's more like being liberated from needing everything to have a neat answer or a perfect outcome.
Kai has this quiet realization, right, about the constant dance between trying to understand and accepting the mystery.
Exactly. Suggesting that maybe merging with the unknown is just about recognizing we're part of this huge, messy, interconnected reality.
Living wholeheartedly within the contradictions.
That seems to be the essence of it. The good, the bad, the confusing bits, all of it. The book ends with Kai feeling this subtle shift, learning to walk through the modern hell, but with open eyes and maybe a more accepting heart, even if the biggest questions don't get definitively answered.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Ketan Gupta's The Modern Hell, wow, we've covered a lot. It's really been a journey through a very contemporary way of thinking about hell and maybe even finding a modern kind of heaven in acceptance.
Absolutely. It shifts the focus from literal places to the psychological, maybe even existential landscape of our everyday lives.
This exploration, based on Gupta's work, it really does offer a unique way to look at your own experiences, doesn't it?
Definitely. So maybe as you go about your day, mull this over a final thought from Gupta's perspective. What could merging with the ultimate unknown actually mean for you? And is it possible for that deep acceptance to live alongside the desire we all have for meaning and for making things better?
Lots to think about there, a different lens for sure.